All right, this lesson is for section 9.3, multiplying polynomials. So this is part 1. Today our target is going to be to multiply polynomials by a monomial. Tomorrow we're going to do something a little bit different. Now I want to start off with just reviewing some exponent properties. Okay, now our very first example here says x times x. Now I'm going to go ahead and write in the exponent here. This is x to the first times x to the first. If you remember, when you multiply powers with the same exact base, you're going to add those exponents. So I would get x to the second power, 1 plus 1. Now, in example 2, I wanted to show this problem to you because a lot of times students get this confused. When they see x plus x, they want to add the exponents and call that x squared as well, but this is just like combining like terms. This is 1x plus 1x, which gives me 2x. So these are really important ideas here. When you multiply x times x, you get x squared. When you add x and x, you get 2x. Okay, so let's apply that to number 3. Number 3, we have a set of parentheses, but again, that just means to multiply. So here I'm going to add the exponent, x to the first plus, x to the first times x to the third becomes x to the 1 plus 3. So I want to add these two exponents, okay, and I get x to the fourth power. So that same idea kind of, again, we're going to see right here, when I'm adding x plus x cubed, I actually can't do anything with this because these are not like terms. So this is as simplified as I could write this, x plus x cubed. I probably would want to rewrite it in the correct order with x cubed first, but that's as far as I can go. All right, so please make sure you understand that when you multiply variables, you're going to add the exponents, but when you add, they have to have the exact same exponent. So this is x to the first, 1x to the first plus 1x to the first, which would give me 2x to the first. Obviously, we don't like to write in the first power there. That's a little bit more extra work that we don't need to do. But this main idea is really important for today. Okay, now we're ready for today's target. So today we're going to be multiplying polynomials. Now if you look at the very first example here, we have a monomial, 3x, and we're supposed to multiply it, that's what those parentheses mean, by the binomial 2x plus 4. So in the parentheses I have a binomial, on the outside I have a monomial. Okay. Now when we're doing this, this is something you're actually pretty good at. We're just going to be using the distributive property here because we have a term out in front of the parentheses and we need to distribute it to both terms on the inside. Okay, so just real quick to read the directions, it says find the product, and we know the word product means to, multiply terms using distribution, and then we're going to write our answer in standard form. All right, so let's begin here. So I'm going to take this term, this 3x on the outside, and just like the normal distributive property, I'm going to multiply it by both terms on the inside. Now the only thing is, you got to remember, you're not just multiplying a normal number, you're multiplying a monomial with a variable here. So we're going to take 3x times 2x, okay, and we're also going to distribute that 3x to the 4. So we're going to add another term. So I always want to put a plus sign in between. It doesn't matter what sign is in front of the 3 or the 4. For right now, just as we start to learn this, we're always going to use a plus sign to show that we're having separate terms. Okay, we should always get two terms here. So I'm going to take that 3x and multiply it by 4. And then I'm going to simplify this. So we just practiced our exponent properties. To simplify here, whoops, we have 3x times 2x, which would give us 6x squared. Remember, when you multiply x times x, you add the exponents to get 6x squared. And then this part, we're really used to this here. This is just going to give us 12x. So 3x times 4 is 12x. So I separate these two terms with a plus sign, 6x squared plus 12x. That's my final answer. It's already in standard form. I have a higher exponent here, 2, and down in decreasing order, there's a 1. All right, so that's basically what we're doing today. Now the problems are going to get a little bit trickier here as we go along. So let's try number 2. Now in this problem, we have to make sure that we distribute to all 3 terms on the inside here. Okay, so that means what I'm going to rewrite, I want to show my work every single time. I'm going to take that 7x and multiply it by x squared first. So 7x times x squared. And then remember, I always want to separate the next term with a plus sign. So let's write plus. Then we're going to do 7x here times negative 5x. Let me erase here. I'll do this in a different color. So 7x times negative 5x. So 7x times negative 5x. Okay. Sometimes I like to put this in parentheses too to remind me that I have a negative here. It's not minus 5x. It's a negative. Okay. And then the last term I've got is 7x times 1. So plus, again, remember, you're going to separate with a plus sign, 7x times 1. And right now we're showing all these steps here because we're just learning how to do this. Eventually we're going to be able to do a lot of this in our heads, but for the first day I want you guys to all write out the terms like this and then go ahead and simplify. Alright, so we're ready to simplify. We've got 7x times x squared. Remember, you're going to add the exponents here. So this is actually x to the first and x squared. So when I multiply these powers with the same base, I would get x cubed. 1 plus 2 gives me the 3, so 7x cubed. And then I move on to the next term. Remember, this was a negative, so when I multiply a positive and a negative, I should get a negative overall. So this term, since it's negative, I'm going to write minus, and then 35. 7 times negative 5 is 35, negative 35. And then I've got the x times x. When I do x times x, again, I'm going to add those exponents to get x squared. And then finally, the last term here, 7x times 1 is just obviously 7x, so I'm going to just drop that down because it really doesn't change when I multiply something by 1. So there's my final answer. It's already written in standard form also. We go in descending order, x cubed, x squared, and then finally just x. Alright, last problem. Hopefully these will go a lot quicker when you guys work on them individually. Right now I'm just over explaining a lot of the different steps because I want to make sure we all understand when we're supposed to add exponents and when we're not supposed to add terms together. So right now, when you look at this answer here, we have to keep it like this because we cannot combine any of these. These are not like terms. Some students I have doing crazy math stuff, they start like multiplying 7 times 3 and they write this as 21x, and I've seen some really crazy stuff. So please make sure once you multiply out the terms like we did here when you distribute, none of these are like terms, you keep it, that's your answer. Alright, we're ready for number 3. Again, we're going to distribute this monomial into 3 terms in the parentheses here. So I'm going to take negative 5x cubed and multiply that by 2x. And then I'm going to add the next term. I always separate the next term with a plus sign. So now I'm going to take negative 5x cubed and I'm going to multiply it by negative 4x squared. Okay, so I'm doing the second little rainbow here. So that's negative 5x squared times negative 4x squared. Oh, I'm sorry, it was cubed. Whoops. So negative 5x cubed times negative 4x squared. And then again, separate it with a plus sign. The last term that we want to do here is going to be negative 5x cubed times this negative 3 all the way over here. So negative 5x cubed times negative 3. Alright, so this is why we have to be really good at that last chapter with the exponent properties, because these look like problems that we did on our Chapter 8 test. So the very first example here, I'm going to multiply the number negative 5 times 2, and I get negative 10. Now when I take x cubed times x, remember you're just adding the exponents, so you would get x to the 4th power. For the next term here, when I take a negative times this negative 4 here, I'm going to get a positive 20. So I'm going to write plus 20. I know that this term is now going to become positive, so I'm going to write plus 20. And then for the x part, the variable part, we have x cubed times x squared. Again, add those exponents to get x to the 5th. Okay? All right, last term here. You've got negative 5 times negative 3, which is going to turn again into a positive 15. And then x cubed here is just going to drop down. There's nothing else that we're multiplying that x cubed by. Okay, one last thing to do here. Obviously, this is not written in standard form because this is the highest exponent. So I want to rewrite this as 20x to the 5th, then minus 10x to the 4th, plus 15x cubed. And that is my final answer. All right, nice job. Tomorrow we're going to get a lot of practice with multiplying polynomials by monomials. And we're going to keep practicing this whole idea of the distributive property and adding the exponents when we need to and combining like terms only when we need to. All right, good job. See you tomorrow.